Oh, well, hey, don't mind me. I'm just going over some footage uploaded to my build chat. You guys literally produce these videos for me anymore since I'm lazy. I like how you just accepted your fate here, Rox. You were at peace with the world. Your only regret being that you ran in front of a fucking immune boss. What were you thinking? Roxidios? I think that's how you say that. If I butchered that, I am genuinely sorry. Anyway, he blew my build chat out of the water with this one. One of the most enjoyable builds that I've played with to this day, and I hate this game, so making me have fun, that's pretty impressive. This one revolves around a choice between 4 different exotics, all of them with their own pros and cons. Mask of Bacchus, Star Eater Scales, Assassin's Cowl, and the Frosties. But for the sake of being able to explain everything efficiently and quickly, we're gonna focus on just Assassin's Cowl. Oh yeah, don't forget you can join my Discord or whatever and share your own builds in my build chat. That's basically how the show functions anymore. Anyway, Assassin's Cowl. Powered melee kills and finishers will turn you invisible. Bigger monsters mean more time invisible and a longer healing duration. Both the invisibility and the healing are extremely crucial when paired with certain aspects and fragments, which we're going to talk about right now. We're looking at another Hunter Revenant build. Yeah, I know, this is like the second one in less than a month. It's sheer happenstance, okay? Core abilities are Gambler's Dodge and Duskfield Grenades, a man after my own heart if I do say so myself. For aspects, we're looking at Grim Harvest and Touch of Winter. Again. Fragments are Refraction, Hunger, Bonds, Rhyme, and Conduction, though the build creator explicitly states that functionality remains the same should Refraction or Bonds be swapped for Durance, depending on what it is that you're into. As you can see, this is clearly a Stasis Shard build, and a strong one at that, so let's talk about some weapons. Ager's Scepter is here to make this freeze bullshit even more bullshit. Definitely want the catalyst for the weapon damage and the freeze beam, though it's not going to do much for Star Eaters since that buffs casting damage only, and it's not going to buff Frosties either since it doesn't increase super cooldown, so that's another L. Arc weapons of any kind, however, specifically fusion rifles, are going to get a direct buff from Mask of Bacchus while still utilizing all of the fragment benefits too, so that's another option. Personally, I lean more towards Assassin's Cowl for the invisible overshield freeze post-melee kill, but that's just me. We're going to do a quick overview of weapons and mods, because these are important. Energy slot calls for a Cartesian coordinate, one specific with lead from gold and Vorpal for the extra damage on top of particle deconstruction. Heavy slot calls for a Reed's Regret, which I don't fucking have, asking for Clown Cartridge and Firing Line. Otherwise, a Threaded Needle with Rapid Hit and Vorpal is the next best choice, again playing into the stacking damage on top of particle deconstruction. Mods are pretty standard, nothing that most people don't already have, assuming they've played for the past couple seasons or so. For the helm, Rox recommends Heavy-Handed. For gauntlets, Thermoclastic Blooming and Elemental Shards. For your chest piece, you'll take Radiant Light and Trace Reserves ×2. Now, keep in mind, Radiant Light is only for the strength buff. If you can reach 100 strength without the mod, swap it out for Protective Light instead for the extra resist stat. For greaves, you'll be taking Better Already, Insulation, and Elemental Charge. And of course, on your cloak, you'll need Particle Deconstruction. Now, I know a lot of you new guys are probably like, wow, I don't know what any of those words mean. Don't worry, Daddy'll get to that in just a minute, I promise. I mentioned that there are a few other exotics that this can go with, and that fact still stands. They're all interchangeable. There isn't really any prep work that needs to be done. The aspects and fragments all remain the same, though I'm sure there's a few here and there that you could swap if you really wanted to. Star Eater, Frosties, even Mask of Bacchus. The combat loop remains the same for all of them. That's because this loadout builds exotics around aspects and fragments instead of building aspects and fragments around exotics. It's a breath of fresh air when compared to other builds that exist in the game. Anyway, let's refocus here. Assassin's Cowl. It's time for a practical combat recap. As discussed earlier, Touch of Winter modifies stasis grenades. In this case, it modifies Duskfield by spawning a stasis crystal in the center. This grenade is best for slowing targets, which plays heavily into our fragments, and then Grim Harvest spawns stasis shards when those frozen or slowed targets finally die. The focus here is to freeze literally just everything, because freezing is where all of your buffs are going to come from. Ager's Scepter is going to freeze targets. Killing those frozen targets causes a lot of things to happen simultaneously. First, Refraction is going to restore a little bit of class ability energy, and Bonds will increase your super gain from that kill. And because those targets died while they were frozen or slowed, Grim Harvest is going to kick in, and they're going to turn into stasis shards. And those shards are going to restore more melee energy than they normally would because of Whisper of Hunger. Because of Elemental Charge and Elemental shards, those shards also turn into wells that charge you with light, which fuel heavy-handed, restoring half your melee energy in exchange for a charge of light every time you use a powered melee attack. And lastly, because of rhyme and conduction, those shards will also create a small stacking overshield and track to your position. This creates a circular energy flow, a daisy chain, if you will, starting from the top, working its way down to the bottom through both aspects and all fragments for the theoretical price of a single shuriken. It is absurdly powerful what a single melee attack or finisher is capable of doing here, but it gets even better. Every one of those melee kills and finishers triggers an invisibility/healing duration, and it is critical for survival. It's something that you will trigger countless times. It's assumed that you'll be in high-level instances though, so you'll need to weaken a target a bit before hitting him with a melee attack. As for finishers, we already know how those work. Your finisher is basically your survival command. Especially with Assassin's Cowl, it is an extremely useful technique for repositioning while invisible. This is where weapons come into play, and they're a lot more important than previous builds that I've covered on this channel, especially the Cartesian coordinate. Let's discuss. The recommended perk combo here is Lead from Gold and Vorpal Weapon. I cannot stress this enough, you absolutely need this gun with this specific perk combo if you want this to work. I say this because this is a double energy build. You're not using any kinetic ammunition here. It is all energy bricks, so you're gonna burn through it really fast. Hence the double fusion reserve. If you have the energy left over, an ammo finder might not be such a bad idea. Your main source of damage is gonna come from Cartesian with Vorpal and your Reed's Regret. Those two weapons are far more important than anything else you've got in your arsenal at this point, simply because of particle deconstruction. The biggest threat to you is honestly just gonna kinda be yourself, whether or not you can manage this many moving parts at one time. You have everything that you need to survive, not even just survive, but also thrive in combat environments. It's really a matter of whether or not you're skilled enough to use all of those tools properly. And I think that's one of the reasons that I really like this, because it makes my brain work. This is a blast. This is so much fun to play with. The only real issue is that it does kind of skimp on damage a little bit. Silence and Squall is a super that's meant for controlling crowds, so more often than not, you'll find yourself pulling that supercharge into Ager's Catalyst for the extra damage. You'll probably get more use out of it that way if you're looking for stopping power. Overall, one of my new favorite builds to play with. Definitely worth the farm for the gear required. 10 of 10 would do again. If liking and sharing is your thing, go ahead and do that or whatever you want. I don't care. Just please, for the love of God, don't spam me with comments about Mantle of Battle Harmony. Please, my God, no more Mantle of fucking Battle Harmony. As for the next Build Talks video, it's business time.